This guy's going to talk about fitness. Jae Chung.
Thank you. That's fine. How many people do we have here? Not that many. Can I have people take one of each of these handouts, please? Thank you. Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming. My name is Jae Chung, and I am a certified strength and conditioning specialist. I work at Indianapolis Fitness and Sports Training. It's one of the local gyms here. And it's a gym that has a national reputation. So we've actually been ranked one of the top 10 gyms in America by Men's Health and Women's Health magazines several times. And so I'm very proud to work at a gym like that, we coach a very wide range of clientele, from 8-year-old kids to 88-year-old grandmas, and we have some middle school, high school, college age athletes as well as pro athletes walking through the doors every day. And I coach in the mornings, so most of my clients are men and women, ages 30 to 90 basically, and who are just trying to get fitter and healthier in the context of a busy modern life that can sometimes be chaotic. So I don't know for sure, but I don't think we have any professional athletes here. Am I right? So basically people like you and me who are trying to make fitness work. So that's my job, is to help people get healthier in the context of a difficult life. So I'm going to try to give a talk that might be more different than some fitness talks or some fitness books that you've read, because I've given fitness talks before, and my frustration has been when I give a lot of information about cholesterol or saturated fat or carbohydrates or this exercise or that exercise. The most common response that I get is that people get very excited. Thank you. People get very excited when they're here, and then they listen to all this great information, and then they go home, and then nothing happens. Or they get very excited about this information, and they try to implement it in all kinds of different ways, and they do really well for about 2 days, or maybe 2 weeks, or maybe 2 months if you're really, really good. And then things start to fall apart because you're busy and you don't really know how to make everything work, and then you're off the wagon, and it's hard to get back on the wagon again. Also, when I was researching materials for this presentation, I came across a book that I thought was really interesting, had a lot of great information in it. I was taking notes furiously, and then I went back through some other notes that I had taken about 3 or 4 years ago, and I discovered that I had actually read this book before. Okay? So I do this for a living. I'm passionate about it, and I couldn't remember that I had already taken notes on this awesome book. So if I just give you information, then it's not really likely to help you in your everyday life. So I want this talk to be very interactive. I want to know what you're going through and how I can help you with that. And I want to do some hands-on stuff today. That's why I need everybody to have a pen or something to write with and the handouts. Because once we practice it together, then you'll remember how to do it and you'll be able to do it on your own. Whereas if I just give you the information for it, I don't know that that's going to be helpful to you long term. Okay? So let me just ask you, the parents in this room, a few questions about what your life is like in terms of fitness and health and nutrition. Okay? So how many families here cook meals from scratch at least 3 meals a week? Awesome. How about 7 meals a week? 1 person. How about 2 people? How about 14 meals a week? And you know, it's hard. It's really, really hard to do that. So we're busy. We're stressed out. I don't know if you're going to restaurants or ordering in. Okay. That's fine. That's fine. Every day. Yeah, you cook meals from scratch every day, multiple times a day. Yeah, we don't like people like you, okay? I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But that's, I mean, in my experience with my clientele, that's pretty difficult to do for a lot of people, right? And that's not something you're struggling with, but that's something that some other people might struggle with. You do struggle with that? Yeah. And that's normal. You know, that's become the normal, and it's something that people struggle with. How about this? How many people get some form of exercise at least once a week? Okay, 3 times a week, 5 times a week. Man, you guys are good. 6 times a week. That's very good, right? Again, I work in a gym, and sometimes I don't exercise 3 times a week, right? Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. It's something that I struggle with. How many people here get 7 to 8 hours of sleep every night? Every night. 2 people, 3 people, yeah. 6 hours, 5 hours, yeah. So that's kind of the norm in this country today, is we're very, very sleep deprived, and that has enormous consequences on our health, on our physical health, on our emotional health, and our cognition, and our ability to deal with things that come up every day. So this is the kind of stuff that most people have some sort of struggle with. I don't know if anybody here doesn't struggle with any of those things. But even if you don't, I'm sure that you can think of something in your life in terms of getting healthier or happier or more successful in life that you feel like I should be doing, but I'm not doing, right? Is there anybody that can't think of something like that? Like, we all have that, no matter how enormously successful we are, right? So that is my job. And despite my title, which says Certified Strength and Conditioning Specialist, I think my job is really to help people with long-term habit change. So I'm kind of like a poor person psychologist in a way, right? I help people do stuff in the gym, so I teach them how to exercise, and we might talk about nutrition, but I also have to give my clients the tools to implement change outside of the gym, because they're in the gym for maybe 1 hour a day, and they're outside of the gym for much longer than that, and they have to make changes outside of the gym if they want to see changes in their bodies or in their mental states that I cannot necessarily force them to do when they're not there. So most people start with things that they want to accomplish, like I want to lose weight, or I want to look better in a swimsuit, or I want to eat better. I want to start with the why of why you want to accomplish these things. So we have a handout in front of you. It's called Discovering Your Why. And on that handout, I'm basically going to be the child that keeps on asking you why. Okay, so this is called a 5 whys exercise, where I want to ask you what you want to accomplish. Pick out one of those things that you are dreaming of accomplishing in your life. And then we're going to ask you why you want to accomplish that. So let's think about fat loss, for example. I think the example on here is I want to fit into, I want to lose fat. And then you ask yourself why. And the answer to that might be, well, I think I would look better if I could wear a size 8 jeans instead of size 10 jeans. And then you ask yourself, well, why do you want to fit into your size 8 jeans? And then you keep going and keep going and keep going until you find the big hidden motivation that is driving you to accomplish this. Because research shows that human beings are more happy, are at their happiest, when they can live a life in accordance with their deepest identity and deepest values. Let me tell you a quick story about one of my clients. One of my favorite clients, Lynn. She's in her 40s. She works and has a 12-year-old child with cerebral palsy and a bunch of other issues. So she is like a lot of working mothers, very stressed out, sleep deprived, and pressed for time. And when she first came to the gym, she said, Jay, I want to lose 10 pounds. And I said, why do you want to lose 10 pounds? And she said, because I want to look better. Doesn't everybody want to lose 10 pounds? And I said, sure, no problem. So I wrote her a fat loss program that would have her coming into the gym 2 times a week for the next 4 weeks. And she agreed that she would come into the gym twice a week for the next 4 weeks. Promptly did not show up for about 3 weeks. Okay? And that happens. You know, I'm not blaming her. That happens to all of us. It happens to me, right? But here's what happened about a year later. She had stuck it out with us for a little while, and she came to us and said, I want you to write me a strength training program. I said, why do you want to do a strength training program? She said, well, my son is 80-something pounds, and he's getting too big for me to lift him from our bed to his wheelchair. And I need to be able to do that if I'm going to take care of him. So I wrote her a strength training program that would have her coming into the gym twice a week for 4 weeks. And she didn't miss a session for, I think, 12 or 16 weeks. So why is that, right? She found a deep motivation that coincided with her identity of herself. She thinks of herself as a strong mother who will do anything it takes to take care of her child. And when that motivation was in play, we could remind her of that. Hey, you want to do this because you want to take care of your 12-year-old son. And that's really important to you. Whereas when she wanted to lose weight, yes, everybody does want to lose weight. But I didn't do a very good job of connecting that to her identity and to her values. So it was just like looking at a magazine with the shredded abs models and saying, I want to look like that, but I didn't really have anything to connect it to in her identity. So this exercise, and I want to do it with you right now. I don't want to just send it home with you. Please take a moment to think about one thing that's important to you that you want to accomplish. And then keep asking yourself, what is it that is driving you to accomplish this? Not just, I want to look better, I want other people to admire me in a swimsuit, whatever, that's fine too, but keep on thinking about, ask yourself another why question. And if anybody is brave enough to share their deep underlying motivation, I would love to hear it. Let's take a few minutes to do that.
Question is, what is your dream? Why do you want to achieve this? If anybody online wants to share that, I'll read it for you.
1 more minute. Let's say 30 more seconds.
Seconds.
All right, guys, thank you so much for taking the time to do that. And I went around and listened to several of the reasons that people gave, and something that I heard over and over was very similar to what I heard from my client Lynn, right? I need to accomplish this. I need to get healthier. I need to work in such a way that I make more sales so that I can take care of my children, right? And no surprise from a group like this, right? Where you're here because you want to learn about and take care of your children better. I also heard somebody say something like, I want to do this because it was a goal I had before my child was born, and I had to put that goal on hold, and I want to go back to that. And I don't want to put words in their mouth, but I feel like maybe that's something like, I want to do that because it was something that I wanted to accomplish, because that goal meant something to me, and now going back to that will represent taking back a part of my life that I had to put on hold, right? All valid reasons, but I hope you can see how these reasons are more powerful motivators than I want to look like that because everybody wants to look like that. Or I want to look like that because when I look like that, people will admire me, right? Because people think that external sources of approval or external factors in their life will bring them happiness. So when I make a certain amount of money, or when I have that dream house, or when I make it into college, or when I have a book published, whatever these external things are, we think that those things will bring us happiness. But I've talked to people who make over $10 million, or I've talked to people who have had 7 books published. And those things don't bring us happiness necessarily, because we have this thing called hedonic adaptation, where the instant you buy a new iPhone, you're very happy with it for about 3 months, and then it becomes just an iPhone. And then when the next thing comes out, you feel like you need that to get that little burst of happiness again. And that's the same thing when you buy your dream house, or when you have your first book published. It doesn't matter. Those external sources of approval don't bring us long-lasting, fulfilling senses of happiness. In the same way that achieving things that are in line with the things that drive me as a human being, the desire to take care of our children, or the desire to become this thing that I wanted to become as a child, those things bring us long-lasting senses of fulfillment. And when you connect your goal to this deep motivation that drives you as a human being, you're much more likely to stick to that goal in the long run. So keep that motivation in your forefront as you go back home. The second thing I want to do with you is the goal setting exercise, because I think that most people think they have goals, but really what they have is a wish list. Okay? I want to lose weight. I want to make this amount of money. I want to do this. But they don't have a very clear sense of how that goal is going to come about. So it would be as if I went to college and I actually took 5 years to graduate because I took a victory lap. And it was maybe because I was not super organized as an 18-year-old, which is fine, but I didn't have a clear sense of what I wanted to do in life. And so I just took classes here, and I took classes there, and in my 4th year, I discovered that I was like 4 classes short of a philosophy major. So I took those 4 classes in my 5th year and finally graduated, which is no big deal. But when you don't have a clear plan of I need to do this, this, and this in order to accomplish my goal, then you end up doing things like exercising instead of training. So let's say you want to run a marathon, for example. A sensible plan might be I'm going to run maybe, let's say, a mile today. I'm going to run 2 miles next week. And you have a training program that is progressively designed to get you closer to your goal. But if you don't have a goal, like I want to run a marathon, then maybe what you do is you just go in for a run. And you like running, and you're getting some exercise, and you're getting healthier, and that's fine. But you're not moving toward a specific goal that you've set. So everybody here, or maybe a lot of people here have heard about SMART goals, right? Specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound goals. And so this is the difference between saying, I want to lose some weight, and saying, I want to lose 10 pounds by January 1st. Okay? That would be a specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound goal. And just having that little time-bound constraint on it is going to give you the tools necessary to say, I need to do this by this date in order to move closer to that goal by that date. Okay? Instead of saying, I just want to look better, and then exercise for a little bit, and maybe eat different for a little bit, and then a year later you found that you're not that much closer to that goal because you didn't really define that goal very well. Now we have a very powerful motivator that you've defined on your Finding Your Why exercise. So let's go back to the Setting Your Goal exercise and take a look at that handout, because that's going to lead us step by step through some very clear exercises for setting goals in such a way that they will give you a training program or a program to get you closer to that goal. Yep. So let's translate your goal, your dream goal, to a SMART goal, right? Not super difficult. Put a time constraint on it. What's the deadline by which I want to achieve this goal? Make it measurable. Instead of saying I want to lose some weight, say I want to lose 10 pounds. And make sure it's realistic, because as a child I wanted to play in the NBA, and that's probably not going to happen anytime soon, I don't think. Okay, so just take 1 minute to do that. And if you're having trouble with translation, raise your hand and let me know, and I'll come around, but I think this one's pretty good. All right, some people are actually moving on to the process and outcome goals, which is fantastic. Anybody have trouble with translating your goal into a SMART goal? Should be pretty self-explanatory. The next thing I want to talk to you about is translating your outcome goal into a process goal. Because if you think about it, you can't really control the outcome most of the time. If I say I want to make $1 million this year, great, that is a wish list. Okay? But if I say, let's say I sell cars for a living, and I say I'm going to send out emails to 5 customers every day for this week. And maybe one of those customers will buy something every day, and then I do my math, and I'll be able to make a lot less than $1 million. But whatever, I have a process that I need to implement and that I can control. So with fat loss, it would be like, I want to lose 10 pounds, and the process would be, I am going to make it to the gym twice a week every week for the next 3 weeks. I don't care what it is as long as it is a process that you can control instead of something that you want. And most people have actually already gone on to do this, so let me move on to the next thing, which is that process goal will give you a very clear idea of the next action step you need to accomplish. So if I'm going to say I want to go to the gym twice a week for the next 2 months, then, and if I don't have a gym membership, I better get one. So that is your next action step, right? And also, I want to think about how confident are you that you can make this process goal work with your current mindset and your current lifestyle. So if I say, let's work out 3 times a week, 90 minutes per session, and you have exactly 10 minutes of free time per day, not really going to happen. But if I say, hey, let's march in front of the TV when the commercials are playing for 30 seconds, that is something that most people can accomplish. And I want you to pick something that you're at a 9 out of 10 confidence level that you can accomplish every single day, every single week for the next 3 weeks, until this habit becomes ingrained and becomes a natural part of your life. Because changing habits is about making small, consistent changes that you can hold on to for a very, very long time instead of falling in love with this one fad exercise or this one fad program or this one fad diet that you will follow for 2 days, 2 weeks, or even 2 months and then fall off the wagon. So I'm talking about long-term, permanent lifestyle change. 5 minutes. Okay. And then you just need to figure out how you're going to measure this thing. So if you have a fat loss goal or a fitness goal, how are you going to measure that? Do you need some kind of test? Maybe it's going to be stepping on the scale or a tape measure around your waist, and then you need to measure that every week or every 2 weeks to see if you are able to make progress toward your goal with the current process goals that you have set for yourself. And if you did make progress toward your goal, that's fantastic. All you have to do is keep going. But if you didn't actually make progress toward your goal, then you have to do something else. So somebody over there said she was going to do 10 sit-ups a day or something like that. And then she wanted to take some inches off her waist. And so you do your 10 sit-ups a day every day. You're at a 9 out of 10 confidence level that you can do that. Fantastic. Measure your waist after 2 weeks. Did it go down? Yes. Awesome. Keep going. If it didn't go down, maybe up it to 20 sit-ups or 30 sit-ups or whatever it is. You have to do something different, because if you just keep doing the same thing over and over again, you don't have a goal and a plan. You have a wish list. All right? Everybody okay with that handout? Okay. Finally, I do not have a handout for this, but my third big tip for you would be to find an accountability partner of some sort. Okay? So there are basically 5 things that you can do to find an accountability partner. 1, if you don't have an accountability partner, you can do it yourself. And all you have to do is get a calendar and a pen, and every day that you did your habit, you put an X through that day. And if you say, I'm going to do 3 times a week sit-ups, 10 times a day or something like that, if you did it that day, you put an X through that day, and if you didn't, you don't. And all you're going to do is to just try to create a chain of these X marks on your calendar and don't break the chain. If you have somebody like a spouse or a friend or a relative that you can call up or text, get them to be your accountability partner, because it is so powerful to say, hey, keep me on track on this, and have that person check in with you and say, did you do your habit this week? Or did you do your habit today? And I don't want to say no in front of that other human being who's keeping me accountable. So don't pick the person, like if you have a fat loss goal, don't pick that friend who's more likely to come to you and say, hey, let's go out for ice cream today. You know, pick that friend who's more likely to say, hey, let's go out for a walk today. All right, so pick the right person. If you don't want to do that, you can download an app on your smartphone. Nowadays, there's like 7,000 habit-forming apps on the iPhone and the Android. So all you have to do is search for Habit Bowl, which is one that I recommend, or Rewired. And I'm only going to give you 2 recommendations because I have the kind of personality where I will do 4 hours of research to buy a $4 cable that connects my computer to this projector, right? So I don't want you to like get crazy about like the best app ever. Habit Bowl, Rewired, they're good enough. Put it on your phone. Start using it today. Okay. The last accountability thing that you can do is to get a coach. And I am a firm believer in that everybody needs a coach of some sort. I need a coach. The most successful CEOs in the world have coaches. And having that coach who is not a family member, who is not a friend, who can give you an objective perspective on whether you're doing well and will tell you the brutally honest truth about whether you're doing well or whether you're deluding yourself, sometimes that can be helpful. And if I'm paying a coach to give me expert advice on what process goals I should take and how to define my outcome goals and whether they're realistic, I actually had a guy who was like severely injured, never athletic, in his 30s, and he wanted to become a Navy SEAL, like the pinnacle of fitness and athleticism. And just people don't necessarily know what part of themselves they're deluding sometimes. So having that accountability in the form of a professional coach can be helpful. So consider that. But if you don't want to do that, the other options that I told you are free, and they're easy to implement, and they take 10 seconds every day. Okay? So that's it. If you have a powerful motivator, and if you have well-defined goals, and if you have well-defined action steps that you need to take, and well-defined accountability measures, you are way more likely to work consistently to progress toward your goals instead of having that New Year's resolution or having that wish in your mind about, I wish I could lose some weight, and I wish I looked better, I wish I felt better, I wish I moved better, so that you can keep doing the things that are important to you. And for a lot of you parents, what I heard from you was that I want to accomplish this so that I can better take care of my children for a very long time. And I think that's a very powerful motivator that I hope that you guys all go out and accomplish. Thank you.